Good evening and welcome to the Texas Bluebonnet and Art Craft Group's Women in Art in panel in celebration of the International Women's Month. We have created a panel program with women artists representing all art forms and mediums. Our women artists bring their professional insight, experience, and stories of their artistic professional growth and development. Our women panelists' artwork and life experiences have created an insightful foundational perspective for all women in the arts. Our guest panelists tonight are Dulce Ricu, Deepa Koshley, Poran Lashnin, Donna Chambers, Beth Ritter Perry, Sarah Murphy, and Judy Pearson. Welcome, ladies. As we interview our panelists, their personal bios and example of their artwork will be shown. All attendees entering the Zoom panel will be muted and unmuted at the question and answer part of our program. We're going to start the evening panel discussion with Dulce. Dulce, you want to come up?
Oh, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Dulce is an expressionist artist using her palette to capture people and nature as she sees them in shapes and colors. Dulce, what are your inspirations that started you on your art profession journey?
Well, I always liked painting and drawing since I was a young person. And I couldn't actually start painting like I do now until I retired. The photo that you're showing now, expressing the inner side of a person is important on my own way. I mean, I try to bring the inner side, the deep side of the person. Like in this case, this woman, well, she's frustrated. She is in solitude in a way. She's missing something. She would like to have company, but for some reason she doesn't. So I try to express that type of feeling and in this particular painting.
I love the colors. I love that deep maroon because it's a color that is very thoughtful and it makes a question, which I like. And then the grays and the blacks just kind of enhance that. It's very good. I enjoy it.
I'm glad you like it.
Thank you. Would you like to move on to another painting? There we go.
Anything particular you want me to focus on? I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, could we go to the previous one?
Yeah, there we go.
That one. Yeah, that again. I was brought up by women. The women in my family were strong women. They were all had to fend for themselves. They all work, and that is something that I'm proud of. And I know the suffering of some of them, And in this case, this is somebody that was ill, and I wanted to show it. And that's what I tried to do here, to show the pain, the memories, like the person is thinking on her memories now that she's sick in a way. And again, it's an expressive thing.
Yeah,
it's not it's figurative, but it's not realistic in the real sense of the word realistic.
When did you start painting?
I actually started painting when I was in my teens. But I have to leave my country in my early 20s. And unfortunately, I have to fend for myself and work. I didn't have any other thing but me. And I managed to get a good job in computer because I think thanks to having studied logic and mathematics and all of that, helped me to get into the computer. Now, I'm talking about computers a long time ago. You know, when the computer, you have to program, and you program with cards, a box of cards, it's all your instruction. Well, bottom line, that I unfortunately had to, you know, work 100% of my time. And it was not until I retired that I say, now I am going to do what I really like to do. And I start painting. First, I started with private, you know, groups. And then I decided to go to Brookhaven and have my my degree there, specifically in drawing and painting, the associate art.
Did you have a famous artist that inspired you to create your expression?
Yes, I do. I do. I have, well, first of all, I love Goya.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely one. The other person that inspired me as well is Leonora Carrington
Yeah.
and Remedios Varo, especially Remedios Varo. I like, you know, she's a draft woman, fantastic. And she's also in that surrealist world. That is also, although in the example I put here, I don't show that, but I do have that surrealist, you know, type as well.
Okay.
So those are definitely very much
Your
people
influence.
that have influenced me.
Okay. As your journey in your art discovery progressed, what were the barriers that you found most challenging?
Well, I found the same barriers any woman finds
Yeah.
when not because I'm doing art. Any woman will find the barriers. I did find it when I was working. It was hard. In painting, not so much so far, because I've done it when I'm retired, and I don't have the, like, younger people have more, you know, need to sell. They are going to develop their art. I'm more on the inside of the situation in a way.
Yeah.
So the things I experimented are the same thing that any woman will do when they go out in the market, or when they have to, you know, struggle to
But
meet their needs.
yeah, your experience of growing up with women and strong women,
Yes,
you feel that they gave you that spirit, that ability to present yourself both in the business world and in the art world?
definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Good.
I'm so proud of them.
Okay.
You know, they were fantastic. They were characters. They were women that you can, you know, I think on Lorca,
Yeah.
you know, and I think on the plays, that type of strong women, and suffering as well. Is that, you know?
Yeah.
So yes, definitely that was a very important thing in my life.
What I like about your artwork is, like, at the picture that we're looking at now, it shows that strength, that courage, and also that frustration of being a woman artist and what your experiences are. And I think that's really a brilliant way to express yourself in the arts. The picture of the young woman here, with her hands, the way she touches and is touching herself and then the look on her face is just fantastic. It really is.
Thank you.
It did.
I'm glad you like.
Ask what country that you came from?
I was born in Cuba.
Ah, okay. Okay.
I was born in Cuba.
Yeah, I understand. Would you like to talk about any other picture that we're showing? We have the horses and the power of that, and then we have this.
Well, this one that you're showing now, it was, I was very proud when I were able to, or accepted in the bathhouse.
Ah.
when they did the Day of the Dead.
Ah.
And I did that for one of the, I entered twice. And of course, Frida Kahlo is a person that everybody admires. I mean,
Yeah,
it's one of those people that you have to admire
it's very true.
for many things, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And I actually wrote one thing that she said. I don't know because, okay, it's in Spanish.
Yeah, go ahead and say it in Spanish. It's beautiful when you say it in Spanish.
It says, pies, ¿para qué los quiero si tengo alas para volar? And in English will be feet, what do I need it if I have wings to fly?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I really, that was something that I will never forget.
It's a powerful statement. I'm going to move on, and I want to thank you, Dulce, for sharing your art and sharing your thoughts and your background. And now I'm going to move on to Deepa. And Deepa combines a very unique perspective of art and yoga and meditation in peaceful, energetic, artistic, visual experience. Deepa is not only an artist, but has a leadership role in the Art of Living Visual Art Association. Deepa, could you please explain to us what a meditative visual artist is and the medium you work in?
Well, I work in, well, thank you so much, Michelle, for inviting me. First of all, it's a great pleasure to be here along with all the reputed artists, you know, in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex. So I feel really good to be here.
Well, we're honored to have you, kiddo.
Yeah. So I work with acrylic and water. So what drives the material didn't come first. It is the process. I work with the process more. So the process determines the material. So acrylic is very forgiving and also very flowy. It flows well with water very easily. And that's the kind of feel I feel while doing my work.
Wow, it's very powerful.
So, yeah, and for me, art is my healing process, not just a way to just relax or feel good about it or immerse in color, but actually a way to face my emotions, my fear, and just my reality in that moment. You know, so I go with that, and that's what determines my painting. And meditation for me is being in the moment, how I feel at that moment, instead of trying to change how I'm feeling. It's just to be true to true to myself at that moment.
Your colors are very peaceful, and I like the fact that you put a little yellow in there to electrify your thoughts. You know, it draws you in, and it's a powerful statement. It's kind of like, reminds me of the universe starting. You know, it's all those colors, all that passion. It just comes together at that point. You really feel it in that painting. It's really great. I do have a question or two to ask you. Deepa, when you began your art journey and discovering who you were as an artist, what were the points of inspiration for you?
So in the beginning I started as like most of the artists, you know, I started as a kid, doodling around, trying to make what I like, you know. Interestingly, as a child, as a kid, I used to do a lot of representational work, more portraits. And then, so my dad saw me doing art and stuff. So he thought, okay, what could be the profession? So, okay, architecture. So unlike all my classmates, I just entered without even giving in, studying for you know, I didn't even prepare for the exam. Literally overnight, my dad prepared me. He's a mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
I don't know what it, yeah. So within a day, I just, suddenly my life just changed. I went to the architecture school, and in that young days, you know, we were exposed to model making, photography, architecture using like all sorts of art, using that as a theme and concept. And I feel that was a very powerful foundation for me, especially my first year professor who was a product engineer.
Mhm.
And he used to make different kinds of like bag design and all that. And he taught us basic design.
Ah,
And I felt that I would not be here without him. Like,
no, that's very
I
true.
mean, he literally taught us how to think in lines and the art principles. That was my foundation.
Uh-huh.
And even now, I try to use in my landscape design when I use
Mhm.
those principles. So, yeah, early on, it started with representational work, and then it started moving on to really start looking for answers. Who am I and what am I doing? And why art when I'm already have a creative profession?
Right.
All those questions brought me here where I am.
Mhm. Was there one moment where you were able to kind of make the transition, but it's still incorporating your architectural background into your discovery of painting?
I did actually. My first solo show in USA, it was in Irving Art Center. Sorry, Irving Art Association,
Yeah.
and Susan was there. Remember, and they were really helpful. It was true.
Mhm.
So I was just I was drawing all my inspiration from landscape and architecture. So the
Mhm.
basic design of architecture
Mhm.
and the beauty of nature,
Mhm.
and I was combining that.
Oh,
But
okay.
trust me, even then I was just trying to make other person understand what I'm doing.
Mm,
That was my emphasis,
right.
that to make other person understand. It wasn't coming from deep down.
Mhm.
I feel that I still have a long way to go in that sense. But after that, I say, you know what? I'm not going to impress. I'm just going to do my thing.
No,
People don't understand, that's their problem.
that's right. I think that's a very healthy attitude. Most artists have that because it's such an interpersonal relationship you have with your artwork. And you have to believe in yourself that you're capable, that this is who you are and how you're presenting it. And your art is strong and it's powerful. So I think that's a compliment to your journey. The other thing is I would like to ask you is what were the biggest issues you had to overcome both culturally and socially and personally to get to this discovery point as an artist?
Um, oh, well, so one of the thing I noticed is there wasn't any, not any, but very few representation of women artists
Mhm.
first, and then a brown Indian American women
Yes,
second,
yes.
and then third, brown Indian American doing abstract.
Mhm.
Because the minute they see me, they see as Ganesha or
Ah,
some landscape or something. Why am I doing abstract and this kind of abstraction? So, and I have been asked so many times,
mhm.
and I started taking now as a compliment, but initially it started bothering me. Am I doing a right thing or not?
Yeah, yeah.
So coming back to your question is, yeah, the representation, I didn't see that much
Mhm.
as women artists.
Mhm.
Even you go to museum,
Yeah, yeah.
not many museums have that
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
variety of.
Well,
Uh,
and I think women women who are in abstract art is a relatively new process for them because we've been typecasted to be impressionist, expressionist, um, and to let go and be abstract is not, a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. It doesn't matter what your cultural background is, it's a new field and it's a discovery field for a lot of women. So I applaud you for taking that route and discovering it and seeing where it's going to take you. And hopefully in time that will open up and our culture will be more accepting of women abstract artists than what it is now, no matter what your cultural background is. So I
yeah,
think that's a
I
good.
mean, now I think more than other people, it was me being comfortable
Mhm,
in my own skin and being just confident.
mhm.
That took time.
Yes. Yes.
because I have been doing these sketches from forever.
Mhm.
It just I never made paintings out of it, you know. And I applaud my husband to be very supportive, and
Mhm.
he kind of told me, "Why you're not making it big, these sketches?" So,
Give it time.
yeah. But another challenge I would definitely mention is managing two professions.
Yes,
Is
it's tough.
it just sounds very weird to my family and friends back in India, even here, close ones, that what am I doing? Is it a hobby or is it a profession? And how much you're earning?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not earning, why you're still in the profession as much? So that's definitely
I think most women artists can appreciate what you have said because there's always that question. Well, do you make a living on it? Is this is really a possibility? Oh, is it just a hobby? You know, you're discovering yourself. So yeah, those are the stereotypical questions that women get all the time. Dulce and I are probably that same generation. And so, we just that it's still there, but let's hope that as a stereotype, we can work through it and say, no, this is our work. This is our profession. Take it seriously. Go from there. Okay. Thank you, Deepa, so much for sharing that. We're going to move on to Poran. And is Poran on the line here? Uh, Madhu, do you have Poran?
Yeah, she should be able to answer.
Okay. All right. Poran,
Hi. Hello,
hi.
everybody.
Welcome. I want to introduce you. Paran is an international visual artist who has combined her personal understanding of her Iranian heritage and become a master of Iranian artwork and technique. Paran has honed her artistic professional skills in art, culture, education, venues, and been a curator in various art roles. Paran, I'm going to ask you a question. Could you talk about how one becomes a master in Iranian technique and art?
Wow. It's a hard,
Yeah,
it's
in
a
less
hard
than 10 minutes.
answer. Madhu, thank you so much. If you keep it in that artwork, I explain it and I take it. And any of them, it's as you said, I was born and raised in Iran, so pretty much I'm sure majority of you know is a Persian miniature and illustration. It's really highly stylized. So if you want to learn it, pretty much you should start when you are very young, like a teenager, and it keeps you to work on any very small, tiny paper of artwork for almost maybe 4 or 5 hours a day, at least for 2-3 months to finish one artwork. And I just want to say, this kind of the art, you see it right now in the monitor, this is not something you can do it by yourself. And if anybody say it, I did it with myself, is not true 100%, because you need the really masters to teach you how you should take step by step to achieve to this point. So pretty much I was teenager and my father was in love with a Persian miniature, and after school 3-4 times a week he took me to the very great masters, really fantastic masters, and I was there like a school and I learned how to do this stuff like that.
Wow. So you've had an amazing educational artistic journal starting when you were a teenager to learn this amazing art process.
Yes.
And you fell in love with it right away?
Oh, the first was really hard, and maybe for the first 3-4 months I was just talk to myself. I said, for God's sake, why my fathers do that to me? Because it was really hard, and the masters, they are very disciplined. It wasn't place for laughing, it was a place for joking. It's a pretty much everybody was in that one table, different table, and they taught us how we should work it. It's a kind of the thing, I don't know how to say it, is a kind of their spirit in the art. They teach it to the students by person, not by the book.
Oh, very interesting.
And that's why you should be next to them and learn how to do this stuff. And now, as a person, I'm working to finish my PhD, and I start to writing a book and article about this kind of the style. It's so difficult to explain it, especially for other cultures, because maybe we have a misunderstanding to understand this kind of the discipline.
Yes. Can you tell us the story of this particular picture of the horse and the gentleman and how that pertains to your culture?
First of all, the majority of the artwork you see here, and I'm doing it, is going back to the mythology, Persian mythology, and I can say Middle Eastern mythology. Is pretty much this. This artwork is on the paper, and the entire paper was the white color.
Yeah.
And I first made it with the tea and coffee.
Oh, wow.
Just tea and coffee. I changed this paper to come to the brown color. And after I changed it to brown color, I start to take the pencil and I start to drawing and sketching. The old man in there, let me I tell this one, and I'm sure many of you, I'm sure you know it, especially if they come from Easternian part, or maybe even Spanish culture, is the old man and old lady, they are very respected in that kind of the culture, because it shows they pass through years, and they get rid of their desire, their appetite, and they are pure spirit, if you look at it in this way. So when you want to show the time and you want to show the purity, mostly you use the figure of the old woman or old man to show the going through a lightness. And that's the one. And the horse is very important mythology behind that as well, in Iranian miniature, in Persian miniature. They use it all the time, and has a meaning behind it. Is the braveness, it's a lightness, it's going to fight with the evils, and it's a messenger of the hope and light.
When you say miniature, how size-wise, what is a miniature in Persian art?
You're talking about my art, or you're talking about
your art? How big or how small?
Actually, this is not very small. It's this small. This one is like 20 inches, but 18 inches.
Okay.
But Madhu, can you go to that lady? No, other.
That one? Yeah. Is that
no? This is a bigger one, and this one. It's actually, this is the woman inside that is like 10 inches by 12 inches.
Oh, wow.
And around that illustration is something I work on that separately, and I put it as a mat on that.
Wow.
So, and this artwork, it took me like almost 4 months every day working on that, like 5 to 6 hours to finish it with the magnum. With the magnum, this is not something you can do it with your eyes. And about this specifically artwork, I participate in Iran in the many shows with that. And it was really hard for me to bring it with myself here. It's pretty much the Contemporary Museum of Tehran. They didn't let me to bring it. It was mine, but they say is the art showcase. They let us, we keep it in the museum. And I say, you know what? Let me, I think about it. And after that, I say, I'm going to the new country, that I have everything I have as my children, and I brought.
I just want to say, the woman's expression in this painting is so joyful and positive that it's inspirational for women, no matter what culture you come from, because she's, to me, looking into the future with possibilities. And I think of you making that transition from Iran to the United States to Europe, to take your amazing artistic capabilities and having to translate it from one culture to the next, and finding an audience for it. That had to be a real challenge for you.
Of course, is a challenge. I think that as an artist, as an active artist, and as a person, I am researching on the Middle Eastern culture environments. Is the one challenge we have is to present our work with so many things is not clear for the audience or for viewers to explain to them what is that means, because it's very different with whatever you see it in Western society.
Yes.
So yeah, it is a really big challenge.
Well, I applaud you because it's beautiful work. It's
Thank you.
culturally inviting, and it exposes us to something that many of us are not familiar with. And the techniques of the paint and the pencils and the different mediums that you use to express your art are phenomenal. And we thank you for expressing it and showing it to us. It's really a pleasure. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next person, which is Donna. Are you there, Donna?
Can you see me? I can see you.
Okay, I'm going to introduce you. Hang on just a second. Donna is an impressionist pastel artist. Donna teaches and promotes emerging artists in the DFW area. Donna has a leadership role in various art associations, the Pastel Society of Southwest, Visual Art Guild of Frisco, and the Richardson Civic Art Society. Donna is also a galleryist and of the art gallery at the Filters in McKinney. Donna, what inspired you to become a pastel artist?
Well, I think basically because I love all the colors. I know that sounds crazy because there are colors on all the different mediums, but these are pretty pure colors and you don't have to mix them and you can leave them out. You don't have to put them away. You don't have to clean anything up, basically, except your hands. And so in that way, it was very good. You know, I could leave something out at night and come home from work and start working on something, as opposed to having to get everything ready and then put everything away. So I liked that aspect of it. And it is a different technique. I've done oils as well. And I like the idea of being able to put color on color and not wait for it to dry.
Yeah.
So I know you'll understand what I'm saying with that with pastel, you can build up your colors. And then if you don't like how it turns out, you can literally brush it off. So in that way, I think it's the easy way to do things. I think the technique is a lot harder than people think that it would be. It takes years and years and years to get it down. And then we're still learning.
Okay. When did you start your pastel artistic adventure?
Actually, about 25 years ago. I hadn't done anything for years because I was busy working and creating another whole life. And I kind of stumbled into an art group and started doing just sketches with charcoal. And then the guy who was teaching us brought out the pastels, new pastels, which are harder than I use now, but he brought out new pastels and I was like, colors! And really enjoyed watching him use them. And so I kind of fell into it, actually. And then, of course, just like most of us are, the more you get into it, the better the product you buy, the better the pictures get, just because the colors are so much better. So that's how.
What was the point, the inspirational point for you to become a pastel artist, and who were the people that you gravitate towards in your art?
You mean artists that are out there that are successful? I love Alan Picard's work. I love he does just wonderful children, just exquisite, different cultures. he is an excellent teacher.
Mhm.
So if anyone's interested in who to look for on YouTube, look for Alan Picard. Of course, there are quite a few that I'm looking at. There is a woman here in Texas, Rita Kirkman, does wonderful animals.
Huh.
I mean, she does a lot of things, but her animals are superb.
And she works in pastels. Is this?
She works in pastels,
Okay.
right? And she's now, just recently, I've noticed she's been on YouTube and doing things like that.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Well,
Of course
I'm gonna ask
any
another
name.
question. You're an
Uh-huh.
artist. I say you are an artist, and you deal, being a galleryist, you deal with artists who approach you to show their work and introduce their work to some of your associations. How do you go about deciding the work that you're going to accept, and what advice would you give to emerging professional artists?
Interesting. The first thing I do is remind myself that it isn't necessarily what I like that other people will like.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a repetitious theme that I go through every time I look at other people's art, that there's this dysphoria of art out there, and people love different kinds of art. And I try to be aware and try to put in the gallery art that is attractive to many different people, not just one particular style. You know, like we wouldn't have all pastels in there. We wouldn't have all watercolors in there. So we try to look for not only the different mediums, but the different themes in the art.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're doing some pottery. We have been very lucky to get Miss Murphy to be one of our artists.
Uh-huh.
And so we have some of her prints. Now, I know nothing about prints except that what I like.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really talk about how that works, just that it's a visual thing.
Mm-hmm.
You see something, you like it. You think, oh, other people would like looking at this as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we do jury in everything that we have. We don't take everybody's art. You know,
Now,
that's the hard part.
Because you're dealing more from the business perspective of art in this, do you see a lot of women artists coming forward, or are you encouraging women artists to show?
Yes, and actually women artists are a lot easier to deal with than men artists. It's a very interesting phenomenon that I have noticed. As a past psychologist, I notice things about people and behavior, and women are pretty much easy to get along with and are so grateful for the time and the energy and the space that you give them, where it seems like men are more, it should be this way, let me tell you how to do it, kind of like the pat on the head, sweetheart kind of behavior, which does not go over well with me.
No, it shouldn't.
So, so women, we do actually have, come to think of it, only one man in the gallery right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he does the great big massive pictures, painting acrylics.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I'm not sure I answered the question.
Yes, it does. And I thank you. And I'm going to move on. And our next artist up is Beth Ritter Perry. And I want to say hello to Beth.
Hello, Michelle. Thank
Hello,
you
Beth.
so much for inviting me to participate in this. This is really interesting.
My pleasure. Beth is a boho supreme artist creating original art images, art quilts, art textures, jewelry, and object stay art. Beth is also an art educator of students K through 12, an art university professor who enjoys witnessing the art creativity and discovery in her students. I'm a retired art educator, period, who incorporated art into my curriculums. And so I think that's just a lovely statement, Beth. My question is, what is boho supreme art?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so where do I start? I guess its inception was when I was in graduate school in Wisconsin back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, I'd come from a small town in Tennessee with like 50,000 residents to University of Wisconsin-Madison, and the entire student population was bigger than the town, right?
Yeah.
They had something like 25 libraries at the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm
Wow.
a nerd, a bookworm. And, you know, when I'm not in the studio, I got my nose in a book. So I was thoroughly loving it. But besides that, I lived at an international co-op, and my best friend was this, we used to jokingly say that, you know, we were twin sisters from different mothers. She was from Chile. And I just knew people from everywhere and was exposed to a lot of the different, you know, folk arts and crafts, and just I was just exposed to culture, you know, just culture. So fast forward, I took my first university teaching job in Western Maryland, but I'd always wanted to go to California. And I decided to take a year's leave of absence, and I moved out to Los Angeles, and I lasted there for about a year, and then I moved on to San Diego. Yeah, LA was something else, but moved on to San Diego, and there I met a woman who turned out to be my mentor with this whole boho supreme thing. Her name is Pamela Armas, and her business is Treasures of the Gypsy. And she did import export from with vendors that she worked with in different parts of Africa and also in India. As a matter of fact, she sponsors a village in India by, you know, they're pretty much her she taught me all about doll making. I've been a doll fanatic all of my life. You've seen my, I think I've had some dolls on display. And you know, there's one, Malik. It's, as a matter of fact, this was taken on her deck in her backyard. If it wasn't for her, she really was instrumental in informing my the type of media that I use and my approach. I've always been I don't want to say this. I've always wanted to be kind of a bridge between cultures and people, and, you know, just finding interesting ways to bring things together. And it's like second nature for me to integrate different, I don't want to say this, aspects, trinkets, artifacts from different cultures, and just pull them all together in interesting ways. Pamela was the one that really exposed me to the art forms of India. And from there, I kind of like springboarded into becoming a fanatic for South Asian bridal jewelry and South Asian bridal anything. Okay, if it's from India or Pakistan, and clothing, saris, shalwar kameezes, the color combinations are so inspired. The color combinations they're such that you wouldn't necessarily expect pinks and browns and chartreuses and teals to work together. It sounds like a crazy mishmash, but when put together, in certain ways, it's like mind blowing. So I've just always been really intrigued by that.
In your painting, the red sari, I think you have done a wonderful job in bridging cultures, because you have this beautiful African American or African woman with her beautiful face and hair and her jewelry and this red sari, which indicates life and love. And I think you've done a wonderful job in bridging those two cultures. It's great.
Oh, thank you.
The other question I want to ask you: when did your art discovery journey begin, and what were your inspirational moments through your journey?
Inspirational moments. My journey began when I was probably old enough for my mother to trust me with a pencil, a pencil and not drawing up the walls.
Right.
basically where it started. But I've, you know, like pretty much everybody in the group, I've always been creative. My mother and grandmother, paternal grandmother, they were my first real inspirations. Those two women cracked me up. And how everybody, just how the whole thing coalesced is so funny. My long story short, my mother had received, she was a little country girl, okay, we're all from Tennessee, and she received a scholarship to go to Tennessee State University to study home economics. Like, who does home economics anymore? But anyway, I think everybody here knows what home ec remembers their home ec classes. But in any event, Mama went to Tennessee State to get her degree in home ec. It turns out that the woman who was one of her major professors was going to be my grandmother, Mary Louise Ritter. So at the time, my mother was engaged to marry this guy. And my dad, the guy who was going to be my dad, Ransom Ritter, was kind of like had his eye on it. And, you know, he had the hookup because my grandmother would see her every day in the class. And one day my mother came to class and she wasn't wearing her engagement ring. And of course, my grandmother knew that my dad was kind of checking mama out. So she was like, hey, she didn't wear the ring to class today. You can swoop in now. So that's basically how I landed here. But both of those women were so strong. Like Dulce was talking about all the really strong women in her family. It was only 6 months ago. My mom passed when I was 13. So it's been a minute, but she and I were tight. But I only learned 6 months ago that while my mother was a college student at Tennessee State University, she participated in sit-ins at the lunch counters, and she probably knew John Lewis, and that just totally blows me away. She never told me about this. Now, my mother was a real Spitfire. She was the Spitfire. And my grandparents, they were still tenant farmers at the time. They were really my grandfather was not too thrilled about her, you know, her activities. He was scared to just start a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
But that's just, you know, kind of my foundation. Very, very colorful folks, educators.
Yeah. I was going to say, in your quilt, is that tell a story of your family and your traditions and your strengths? Because it's a beautiful quilt.
Thank you. You know something, this is going to sound entirely wild. I started doing these types of quilts because I don't like to waste anything. I don't like, and I've been collecting fabric from everywhere for probably the last 30 years or so. And I have some favorite pieces that are older than I would want to share, but it might still have a little teeny tiny bit. And this piece here, this genre quilt that I'm working on, they're pretty much the bits and pieces that I just can't bear to part with any other way. And they deserve to be in a quilt.
They do. They tell a story. Quilters.
They tell a story, yeah.
They truly are. Given the challenges you've had both culturally in your artwork as a woman artist, what advice would you give to young women coming up in the art field of the textile and the texture art field?
I would just say be open, experiment. Wow. In life, there's a time to be circumspect and there's just a time to go for it. And I would tell any young woman, get your education and everything out of the way, get a good foundation in your life, find out who you are first before you attempt to, you know, delve into anything else. And, you know, really get to know who you are creatively, artistically, and learn to feel at ease with that and just go for it.
All right. Thank you, Beth. Now we're going to move on to Sarah.
Hi.
Sarah is a fine artist and educator in watercolor, oil, printmaking, collage, and she works in pottery and ceramics. Sarah is a fine artist who takes her inspiration from native patterns and primitive art designs. Sarah, when did you begin your artistic journey?
Well, I guess like most people have been saying, I guess it started in childhood.
Mhm.
I
And
drew a lot when I was a child.
mhm. And what were the things and events that inspired you in your artistic journey? And one event in particular that made you realize how gifted you were in art?
Oh, well, it was more than one event, really.
Okay.
I really didn't start getting serious at art until I was in college. And I was, believe it or not, but it's true. It's not so much that I learned a lot about art, but it was also things that I just kind of took in from the people around me, my
Mhm.
teachers and friends and family, giving me encouragement, and other artists
Mhm.
and art history. It's been a big influence for me.
Mhm.
I've been greatly inspired by other artists, the art of the past.
Well, who are some of your favorite artists from the past?
Well, I really love Paul Klee.
Mm. Mhm.
I like Gauguin, Cezanne,
Yes.
George O'Keeffe, and I'm especially influenced by folk art,
Mhm.
quilts, molas,
Mhm. So some of your art. Can you tell us a little bit about,
non-Western forms of art, non
yeah.
off the, folk art, non, what do
Mhm.
you call it? Outsider art.
I
I love it.
Okay. We're seeing some of your raku pottery, um, which I personally love. Would you like to kind of explain that process and how you got into that?
Well, what you're looking at here is it's not exactly raku.
Right.
It's called atmospheric firing. They also just simply call it alternative firing.
Mhm.
You use sort of a reduction method. There's reduction of oxygen like there is in raku
Mhm.
to give you the certain effects on the surface of the pot.
Mhm.
So it's kind of lumped into that category.
Wow.
However, this doesn't have a glaze
Mhm.
like a lot of strictly raku work does. This was, I burnished it,
Mhm.
so I got it really shiny.
Mhm.
And I used a terra sigillata and polished it.
Mhm.
Then I put it in a barrel
Mhm.
with some other pots.
Mhm.
And I
I
think this
love
one
the
I
way,
wrapped.
yeah, I was going to say, I love the way you incorporate your design and printmaking into your pottery and vice versa, because you use a lot of color and a lot of passion in your art, and it really draws people in. And it's kind of in that folk art, but yet it's contemporary, and it tells stories. And I think that's really, really good. As an art educator and working with children as well as adults, because I know you have taught, how do you inspire other people and other children to explore the arts in today's world, and particularly women? Did you,
You mean as a teacher?
as a teacher, yeah.
I don't know. Sorry.
Just by being Sarah?
Well, just being really encouraging, letting
Yeah.
them know that they can do this, to not be, I mean, for adults, at least for adult women, I mean, that they could be artists and not be too hard on themselves, and then not
Mhm.
let negative thinking get in their way.
Yeah.
And I think women, have a tendency to question themselves too much or criticize themselves a lot, which
Mhm.
is unfortunate. And of course, with children, you have another set of children will just usually jump on in and do it. And,
Yeah.
unfortunately, that starts to come in with children too.
Mm.
Criticizing their work, thinking it's not good
Yeah.
when they've just barely even made a mark on paper,
Mhm.
and to
Mhm.
compare their work to other people's work, and just getting them past that.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, Sarah, thank you. And at this point, we're going to move on to Judy Pearson. Okay, is Judy here?
Unmute myself.
Okay. Judy is an artist and a promoter of the arts in the Irving community. Judy is on the Irving Art and Cultural Board and many other community groups. Judy's love of art has led her into developing a marvelous program called the Art of Healing, an outreach program for patients in the Baylor Scott and White Irving Hospital. Judy, when did you start discovering your art ability and your desire to promote art?
Well, mostly like everyone else as a child, I grew up with creative and talented parents. My father was an architect and had lots of hobbies: furniture building, pen and ink drawings, photography. My mother was a seamstress. So I've always been exposed and to a love of the arts. But you know, as so many of us women, as we grow up, we realize that we need to nurture and have a family and do things that are not necessarily related to any art. So I think many of us, or some of us, push that aside for the time being and focus on, you know, family and nurturing and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we all have chapters in our life. We all have seasons in our lives. One door closes, another one opens. And when my husband passed away, I spent a year in the fog. And after that, I began to realize I had opportunities to pursue my interest in art, and was appointed to the Irving Arts Board, which immediately allowed me to be immersed in all of the opportunities of visual and all of the arts.
Well, I think having that great experience and being involved in the art, you've experienced successful community formats and programs. What do you feel is the most important quality of a community art program?
Well, engagement, certainly, of the community.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, I have been fortunate enough to start a program at our own hospital here in Irving, Baylor Scott and White, Arts and Medicine program. And that's a fairly new concept in medicine, the art of art healing. And it's been very successful. But due to COVID, it's kind of been, well, we haven't been able to really do very much of it because they were focusing so much on the COVID patients.
Mm-hmm.
But the arts and medicine is something right now that's very dear to me.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer the question?
Yes,
I hope
it does. And
okay.
I know personally, Judy, that when you decide to do something, you do it very well.
Thank you.
I applaud you for promoting and developing that program because as a child development specialist and an art educator, I know how important it is to develop art, to let people experience it and just release all those emotions and feelings, as well as for people recovering from certain medical conditions, learn the creativity of the left and right brain. It is extremely important. And I think
Yes.
all of us as artists and educators and teachers realize the joy and the comfort and the meditative qualities of doing our art and being able to share that with people. I just is a brilliant idea, and I applaud
Right.
that.
Yeah, the art therapy is becoming very, very well known in all aspects, not only in medicine, but in treating patients with PTSD and depression and suicide prevention. So art therapy itself is a vital part of the whole program of the whole thought of art.
And I'm going to speak as a senior person and also a woman who lost her husband about 5 years ago. And being involved in patient support groups and introducing art, and predominantly to women, because women, unfortunately, as we get into our 70s and late 60s, we start losing our partners, whether they be male or female, we're losing a partner. And to have that experience of art therapy allows a lot of personal feelings to come out and to feel confident and good about the choices that you will be making in the future, and to know it's okay to grieve, and to know it's
Yes.
okay that you're going to be going on. So I really applaud, again, your art therapy work. And I hope that all of the artists that we're talking today in some way can express that art feeling out into their community and into their culture, because it's so important. As women artists, we understand that emotion, that feeling that we have inside of us that allows us to express those feelings to other people, to develop organic conversations and relationships and friends. So thank you, ladies. This has just been an amazing experience, and I'm so glad that all of us have participated. Dulce, Deepa, excuse me, Poran, Donna, Beth, Sarah, and Judy. I cannot thank you enough. Now we're going to open it to questions and answers. And one of the questions I'm going to put to all of our panelists is, the first one is, as women in the arts, what future challenges do you see for women to become professional artists? And secondly, how do we incorporate social media and technology into the financial success of women artists? And I'll open it up. So anybody who has a thought can begin.
Well, I have an interesting story about social media and how an artist can become very well known without even realizing it. My niece in California, she lives in the San Diego area, is a fiber artist. And she's always had a funky side. And she does funky faces. She likes funky faces. If anybody understands what that means.
Yeah.
She found an artist just on Instagram that she started taking classes from. And the lady does not have a website, but she is making a fortune giving lessons on YouTube and Instagram because someone discovered her technique. So get out there and be visible on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube.
Yep. Anybody else have anything to say to that?
Yeah,
Beth?
I feel the Instagram and the Facebook, the social media is my extended family. So the relationship with the collector or the patrons doesn't end when they buy your work or when they visit you at a gallery or an exhibition. So I just feel it's an extension. And sometimes the business doesn't happen instantly, but eventually it does. You know, they're becoming your fans, and eventually they may buy your work, you know. But it's a nice group to keep. Yeah,
It's a good extension, a good another avenue of displaying your art if that's your desire.
Because I found that
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Dulce.
Oh, another thing that I noticed that is prevalent now is enter in exhibitions that are online. And I think, and they are international exhibits. So it's a good opportunity sometimes to get in those shows, even when you have to pay. Usually it's not much, because you get outside of the country even. I mean, it's an international exhibit. It's a good opportunity also to show your work. So I think that's another venue And the way things are going now, a lot of time nowadays, the remote tools are very prevalent because of COVID. But I still think that in the future, it will become also very important to work with remote tools. Okay, it's going to be not the normal, I don't want to use that word, but it's going to be very prevalent, the use of remote tools in the future. So getting to that, the other thing I also think for those that has the talent to do it and the willing to do it is getting in the digital world. There's going to be a lot of that. So if you can get into that, do it. It's not easy. It's different, but I will encourage, especially young people, to do it, to mix the two things somehow. You know, I think that's something important for the young, especially young people, but even veterans like me, it's important to learn it.
Okay.
And
Beth,
try it.
I'm sorry, Dulcie. Beth, do you want to say something?
Oh, no,
No, I say and try it. Don't be afraid. Try it.
Okay, great.
I think a lot of it, thanks to COVID, working virtually in a lot of different ways, it's just going to become, I hate to say the new normal, but it's going to be very strongly integrated into it. And it's, we as artists and, younger people too, dive into it or you're going to get left, dude.
Yeah, I've got to put more on my.
Donna, you flashed in for something?
No, but I was thinking maybe you picked that up. I am involved with Richardson, and we have had our shows online now, and it makes it so much easier. I mean, it's difficult to set it up, but more people would be actually applying for it. They didn't have to pay for a frame and pay to send something and have it shipped and all that. And same thing with the Pastel Society. It just costs so much money to join or to try to get into any show that's national, that a lot of artists just can't do it. So I agree. In the future, the online shows are going to be where it's at.
Add something?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
We had a show, that as a Persian group show, and I want to say if for this new condition, COVID condition we had, it was surprising. We always have a maximum of 30 people, 30 good artists. And actually this year, because of exactly the same thing Donna says, we had like a 45 artists, they joined the show, and many of them they came from and they participate from Houston, Austin, San Antonio, and Oklahoma, and you name it, Georgia, and many different states, 5 different states. And because of that, because it was online show, it's really
I agree. That is when I read about artists and the future of art, it's all online. And your point to digital art, there was a gentleman, I wish I had written his name down.
Oh, yes.
Whose artwork was $69 million.
Yes.
Wow. At Christie's in the auction house.
Wow.
And I went, wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I looked at it and I'm going like, I mean, it's like a quilt, Beth.
Yeah,
it's
I
like
saw it actually.
Amazing. And it's all,
I'm sorry.
It blew me away that somebody would spend $69 million. I just went.
They show the guy while he was watching the bid. He was watching the bid with his family. He couldn't believe it. I mean,
no.
And it's so funny because he said, now I can go to Walt Disney to.
It's like winning the lottery. It's amazing. Yeah. Bernadette, do you have any questions? Oh, you're muted, but can we unmute her? Yeah, okay.
I feel inspired by all the stories. I love storytelling. I love hearing everyone's story and how they got into art. So thank you all. Y'all are beautiful ladies. And I just want to get some paint, and I also want to get into the digital side of painting too.
Yeah.
More so today now than ever.
Good.
Good.
But yeah, thank you. Thank you all for speaking.
Okay. Well, I think that probably brings us to our closing. I'm going to ask each one of our panelists to make a closing statement. Beth, would you like to start off?
Again, thanks so much for including me in this. And you ladies are wonderful. Just, hey, wonderful artists. Let's just stick together and just keep on doing what we're doing.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Judy, do you have something to say?
Yes, I just want to say it's an honor to be in the presence of so many outstanding women artists. I'm impressed by all of your stories and your struggles to become an artist. I believe that the industry of arts and culture will have the biggest change going forward because of COVID, because of the nature of art. But I think it's only good. It's only good things to come. So anyway, thank you for having me. It's been a great experience.
Thank you. Deepa, do you have something to say?
Just thank you so much. I really appreciate and I enjoyed every bit of it, listening, and I'm even more motivated. And definitely, I'll look into the digital art. I used to do this little bit, but I think I'm gonna, try my hand again. And just to say, this is a very small, nice community I found, and I feel very lucky. And that goes for all artists, emerging artists. Just find your community and support each other. There is enough market for all of us. So go out there, and we all can make it.
All right, thank you. Sarah, do you have something to say?
No, just nice to meet everybody, and I hope we get to meet in person.
Yeah.
I probably will never make digital art because I don't want to use a computer to express myself, but I'll always probably stick to traditional materials because that's what human beings need to do. I mean, we're we need to get away from the machine, and we want to, and but I will display my art with the computer like I'm doing here. I'll use the computer to get it out there. But I think the whole point of making art today is to, as a haven from technology and its incursion in our lives. I mean, I mean, when you say digital, do you mean using a mouse and making designs and stuff?
Yeah.
No. I mean,
He's like,
let the advertisers and the media. I mean, that's all being done. I mean,
yeah. Well,
You will be surprised. Really, they're very good art.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not good art. I just.
It's not something.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's not your thing. I understand.
I feel you, Sarah. I feel you.
I just have to smell the paint, touch the
Yeah.
It's tactile.
Get dirty.
Yeah.
We'll never take that away from you, Sarah. Don't worry.
And besides, there's too many people that really know how to do that really great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just me. It's just my thing.
That's all right. We respect you for your opinion. Dulce, do you have something to say?
Well, I want to say that I'm very honored to be part of this group of wonderful artists. It's been an honor, and I'm very happy too. So, and again, I just encourage people to be themselves. That's what is important. You be yourself and look forward. Look forward always.
Thank you.
That's all.
Yeah. Paran, do you want to say anything?
Actually, thank you so much for having me. It was really And exactly like Dulce says, is the creativity in the art is very simple if we just be ourselves. And I think we never have a failure because anything, and we can see it now, is we all have a very different styles. Is everything we creative is a new and is gorgeous. And that's why it makes the art so beautiful. So I'm so happy. I had a wonderful hour to spend visually to see all this beauty.
Yeah. Well, I thank you. Anna, do you have something to say?
I would like to add to what Deepa said, and that there's room for all of us out there. This is a land of plenty, and we can all be appreciated for the kind of work that we do. And we don't need to be selfish in containing things, not that any of us are, but those other people. And that stay away from negative people.
Yes.
They sneak into our lives, but without us even knowing it, and then they start the little until we start doubting ourselves. So, get smart about staying away from negative people. To start to see them earlier than they have too much influence on you. So that's it, and thank you for allowing me to be part of the panel. It's very enjoyable.
Well, I thank everybody, and I want to particularly thank I'm just going to call us the Bluebonnets right now, production team, which is Madhu and Susan and Gay and Emily and actually Jose Hernandez. We'll allow one man in, who was very helpful in developing our programming. So I'm hoping this isn't the only one that we're going to be doing. We want to start an artist platform for women and as well as men, and for professional and emerging artists, because I think having a platform and an organic discussion gives us insights and power as women artists to get rid of the stereotypes and explore the world and be successful. So for this, I say good evening and thank you.
Good
Good
night.
evening.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.